The day Earth fell silent. The stars burned cold and distant on the night Earth learned it was not alone in the universe. General Elena Kovac stood on the observation deck of the Lunar Defense Station, watching the blue marble of her home world turn slowly in the black void of space. She had been a soldier for 20 years, trained for every possible threat humanity could imagine. But nothing had prepared her for what was coming. The first attack came without warning. No declaration of war. No diplomatic message. No chance to surrender. The Zaltharian Empire simply appeared in Earth's solar system with 300 warships and opened fire on the colony of New Hope on Mars. 15,000 people lived there. Farmers, scientists, children, families building a new future among the red rocks and ancient valleys. In 12 minutes, they were all gone. The colony burned so hot that its glow could be seen from Earth with the naked eye. Elena received the distress call too late. By the time she understood what was happening, the Zaltharian fleet had moved to the mining stations on Europa. Then to the research facility on Titan. Then to the commercial hub orbiting Venus. Each target was destroyed with cold efficiency. The aliens gave no reasons. They made no demands. They simply erased every human presence beyond Earth like a teacher wiping chalk from a board. The United Earth Defense Force scrambled every ship they had. 42 vessels, the pride of human engineering, rushed to intercept the enemy fleet. Elena commanded the operation from her flagship, the Defiance. She had studied warfare her entire adult life. She knew tactics, strategy, the art of combat. But as her ships engaged the Zaltharian fleet, she realized with growing horror that none of it mattered. The enemy technology was beyond anything humanity possessed. Their weapons punched through Earth's strongest shields like paper. Their armor absorbed human missiles and energy beams without even flickering. Their ships moved with impossible grace, anticipating every maneuver Elena ordered. The battle lasted 43 minutes. When it ended, 38 human ships were destroyed. The remaining 4, including the Defiance, were crippled and burning. Elena floated in the damaged bridge of her ship, emergency lights casting red shadows across the faces of her surviving crew. Blood drifted in zero gravity where the hull had been breached. The smell of burning metal and flesh filled her lungs. Through the cracked viewport, she watched the Zaltharian fleet regroup. They had barely taken any damage. It had not been a battle. It had been an execution. Then something unexpected happened. A communication channel opened. Elena's tactical officer managed to route it to her station. A face appeared on the screen, pale blue skin stretched over sharp features, eyes like polished obsidian that held no warmth or mercy. This was her first glimpse of a Zaltharian. "I am High Commander Vrathzel of the Zaltharian Empire," the alien said. His voice was smooth and cold, translated by technology Elena did not understand. "Your species has expanded into territory claimed by the Empire. This expansion ends now. Return to your birth world. Stay there. Any vessel that leaves your planet's orbit will be destroyed. Any transmission beyond your solar system will be answered with annihilation. You have 1 Earth week to comply." Elena wanted to scream at him, to demand answers, to know why her people had to die. But her training held. She studied his face, memorizing every detail, looking for any weakness. "And if we refuse?" she asked quietly. Vrathzel's expression did not change. "Then your home world burns like your colonies. We are not negotiating. We are informing you of the new reality. Humanity will remain on Earth, or humanity will cease to exist. The choice is yours." The transmission ended. Elena looked around her destroyed bridge. Young officers with blood on their uniforms stared at her, waiting for orders, waiting for hope. She thought of the 15,000 dead on Mars. The thousands more killed on Europa and Titan and Venus. The 38 ships and their crews floating as debris in the black. Her hands shook with rage so pure it felt like fire in her veins. But she was a general. She had responsibilities beyond anger. She opened a channel to the 3 other surviving ships. "This is General Kovac. All vessels are to retreat to Earth immediately. We need to regroup and assess our situation. Her captain started to protest, but she cut them off. That is an order. We cannot win this fight today. We fall back. We survive. We prepare. The journey back to Earth took 6 hours. 6 hours for Elena to think about what she had seen. The Zaltharian ships were powerful, but they were also old. She had noticed details during the battle. Their formations were rigid and predictable. Their tactics were conventional. They fought like an empire that had not faced a real challenge in a very long time. They had overwhelming power, yes, but they were complacent. Lazy. Certain of their superiority. Humanity was different. Humanity was young. Just 500 years ago, humans had been fighting each other with swords and cannons. 300 years ago, they discovered the secrets of splitting atoms. 100 years ago, they had reached beyond their own planet for the first time. Human history was a story of rapid change, constant innovation, endless adaptation. Other species might see this as chaos. Elena saw it as humanity's greatest strength. When she reached Earth, the leaders of every nation were waiting for her report. The President of the United Nations, the Prime Ministers, the Chancellors, they all wanted answers. What could they do? How could they fight? Was there any hope? Elena stood before them in her burned uniform, still smelling of smoke and death, and told them the truth. We cannot fight them, she said. Not now. Not with what we have. Their technology is centuries beyond ours. If we resist, they will destroy Earth. 15 billion people will die. The room erupted in angry voices. Generals demanded revenge. Politicians called her a coward. But Elena raised her hand and silence slowly fell. We cannot fight them today, she repeated. But we can fight them tomorrow. The Zaltharians gave us 1 week to withdraw all our ships. They expect us to obey. They expect us to be broken and afraid. We are going to give them exactly what they expect. We pull back every vessel. We go silent. We make them think they have won. And then, the President asked. And then we prepare. We study. We build. We learn everything we can about them. They think we are primitive. They think we are weak. They think one attack was enough to break our spirit forever. They are wrong. Elena's voice grew harder. The Zaltharians made a mistake. They showed us their power, yes. But they also showed us that they can be defeated. They have ships. They have weapons. They have soldiers. All things that can be destroyed if we are smart enough, fast enough, adaptable enough. How long? Another general asked. How long do we hide and prepare? As long as it takes, Elena said. 1 year. 2 years. 5 years. However long we need to be ready. Because when we strike back, we will only get one chance. If we fail, humanity ends. So we do not fail. The leaders argued for hours. Some wanted to surrender completely. Some wanted to fight immediately despite the odds. But slowly, Elena's logic won them over. Humanity had survived ice ages and plagues and world wars. They had clawed their way from caves to the stars through determination and innovation. They would survive this too. Over the next week, every human vessel beyond Earth's orbit retreated home. The Zaltharians watched with their powerful sensors, confirming that the primitive species had learned their lesson. High Commander Vrathzel smiled in his command throne. Another conquest complete. Another inferior species put in their place. He filed his report and moved on to other matters. Humanity was already fading from his thoughts. But on Earth, something was beginning. Elena Kovac was given complete authority over humanity's response. Every resource on the planet was placed at her disposal. The greatest minds in science, engineering, medicine, and warfare gathered in secret facilities built deep underground where Zaltharian sensors could not detect them. They called their project Phoenix. From the ashes of defeat, humanity would rise. The first task was understanding Zaltharian technology. The 4 damaged ships that limped back to Earth were taken apart piece by piece. Every fragment of alien material recovered from the battle was analyzed. Human scientists worked day and night, comparing the enemy technology to their own, looking for patterns, for weaknesses, for anything they could exploit. What they discovered gave Elena hope. The Zaltharians were technologically superior, but their designs were ancient. They had been using the same weapons, the same shields, the same engines for thousands of years. Why innovate when you were already the strongest? Why change when everything worked? This was the Empire's weakness. They had stopped growing. Humanity had never stopped growing. Human history was a story of taking old ideas and making them better, faster, stronger. Steam engines became nuclear reactors. Propeller planes became spacecraft. Simple computers became artificial intelligence. In just 5 centuries, humanity had advanced more than most species did in 5,000 years. Now that advancement was about to accelerate beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. Dr. Sarah Chen led the weapons development team. She was a physicist who had lost her sister in the attack on Mars. Her grief had transformed into focused determination. Within 3 months, her team had created the first prototype of what they called a phase disruptor. It was based on Zaltharian energy weapons but modified with quantum principles the Empire had never explored. In testing, it cut through recreated Zaltharian shields like they did not exist. Commander James Okafor led the ship design division. He was an engineer who understood that humanity could not match Zaltharian numbers. They needed quality over quantity. His team designed vessels that were smaller than traditional warships but faster and more maneuverable. They incorporated stealth technology inspired by Earth's old submarine warfare. They added adaptive AI systems that could learn and evolve during combat. Each human ship would be worth 10 Zaltharian vessels. General Marcus Webb oversaw military training. He studied every second of footage from the battle, analyzing how the Zaltharians fought. They used rigid formations. They expected enemies to fight in predictable patterns. They had never faced an opponent that used guerrilla tactics, hit-and-run strategies, psychological warfare. Webb began training pilots and soldiers in entirely new combat doctrines. Humanity would not fight the Empire's war. Humanity would fight its own war. 6 months passed. To the Zaltharian Empire, Earth had gone silent. No ships left orbit. No transmissions reached beyond the solar system. Intelligence reports confirmed the humans were behaving exactly as commanded. High Command of Rathzel felt satisfied. The humans had been broken easily, as he predicted. They posed no threat. But beneath the surface of the planet, in facilities that stretched for kilometers underground, humanity was transforming. Factories that once built consumer goods now produced weapons. Universities that once studied abstract theories now solved practical problems of war. Every person on Earth understood what was at stake. Every person had lost someone to the Zaltharians. 15,000 dead on Mars. Thousands more on Europa and Titan and Venus. Hundreds of soldiers killed defending their homes. The anger had not faded. It had crystallized into purpose. Elena stood in the main command center of Project Phoenix, surrounded by holographic displays showing their progress. New ships under construction. Weapons testing successful. Pilots achieving scores that would have been impossible a year ago. Alliance networks forming with other species the Zaltharians had oppressed. Everything was coming together. General, Dr. Chen approached with a data pad. The final prototype testing is complete. Our weapons work. Our shields work. Our ships are ready. How many? Elena asked. 60 vessels fully operational. Another 40 in final assembly. Against their 300. Our simulations show favorable odds. Each of our ships is significantly more effective than theirs. The real question is whether our people are ready. Elena thought about the young pilots she had watched training. Kids who should have been in college were now preparing for war. But their eyes held the same determination she felt. They had watched their world be attacked. They had lost friends and family. They were not children anymore. They were humanity's answer to the question the Zaltharians had posed. What happens when you attack Earth? They are ready, Elena said quietly. Schedule the first operation for next week. We start with their outpost in the Kepler system. It is small, isolated, and lightly defended. We hit them hard and fast, then disappear before reinforcements arrive. We show them that humanity is back. Dr. Chen nodded and left to prepare. Elena stood alone in the command center, looking at the star map showing Zaltharian territory. Hundreds of systems. Thousands of ships. Millions of soldiers. But somewhere out there, High Commander Vrathzel was comfortable and complacent, believing the threat from Earth was over. He was about to learn the most important lesson in the history of his ancient empire. Never attack humanity first. Because once humanity decided to fight back, nothing in the galaxy could stop them. The storm was gathering. And soon it would be unleashed. The storm humanity unleashed. High Commander Vrathzel reclined in his command throne aboard the Imperial Dreadnought Eternal Dominion, reviewing reports from across the Zaltharian Empire. 6 months had passed since the human problem had been solved, and everything was proceeding exactly as expected. The primitive species had retreated to their home world and stayed there like obedient pets. Not a single ship had violated the boundary he had set. Not a single transmission had been detected beyond their solar system. He smiled, satisfied with his efficiency. The Empire had expanded across 4,000 star systems over 15,000 years. In all that time, countless species had challenged Zaltharian supremacy. All had learned the same lesson the humans learned. Resistance was futile. Obedience was survival. Vrathzel had personally overseen 73 such corrections during his 4-century career. The humans were no different from any other inferior species. His second officer approached with a daily intelligence summary. Commander, all sectors report normal activity. The human planet remains quiet. No anomalies detected. Excellent, Vrathzel said without looking up from his data pad. Maintain standard monitoring protocols. I doubt we will have any further issues with them. At that exact moment, 2,000 light-years away, General Elena Kovac was leading humanity's first strike. 60 human warships emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Kepler for 42 system. The Zaltharian outpost here was small, just a listening station with 20 guards and 3 patrol ships. It monitored this region of space, watching for threats that never came. Until now. All ships maintained stealth protocols, Elena commanded from the bridge of her new flagship, the Rising Phoenix. Around her, tactical displays showed the positions of her fleet. Every vessel was invisible to Zaltharian sensors, wrapped in technology that bent electromagnetic radiation around their hulls. Target the communications array first. I want them silent before they know we are here. Lieutenant Commander Park, her tactical officer, worked his controls with smooth precision. Phase disruptors locked on target. All ships report ready, General. Fire. 60 invisible ships opened fire simultaneously. Beams of quantum-phased energy shot across the void, moving faster than the outpost sensors could detect. The communications array exploded in a burst of superheated plasma. 3 seconds later, the patrol ships were gone, destroyed before their pilots could even reach their battle stations. The outpost itself lasted another 10 seconds before its shields collapsed and its structure came apart. The entire attack took less than a minute. When it was over, the Zaltharian presence in the Kepler for 42 system had been completely erased. Elena watched the debris field scatter and felt nothing. No joy. No satisfaction. Only cold determination. This was just the beginning. Deploy the message beacon, she ordered. A small device detached from the Rising Phoenix and positioned itself where the outpost had been. It began broadcasting on all Zaltharian military frequencies. Elena's face appeared on the transmission, her expression hard as iron. "This is General Elena Kovac of the United Earth Defense Force. 6 months ago, your empire attacked humanity without provocation. You killed 15,000 civilians on Mars. You destroyed our colonies. You told us to stay on our planet or face annihilation." She paused, letting her words echo. "We have a message for High Commander Vrathzel and the Zaltharian Empire. Humanity does not kneel. Humanity does not surrender. And humanity never forgets. You struck Earth first. Now we are coming for you." The transmission ended. The human fleet vanished back into faster-than-light travel, leaving only destruction and a warning behind. By the time Zaltharian reinforcements arrived 6 hours later, they found nothing but wreckage and the repeating message from a species they thought they had broken. The news reached High Commander Vrathzel within a day. He stared at the report with confusion that slowly transformed into anger. The humans had attacked an Imperial outpost. Impossible! They had no ships capable of reaching that far. They had no weapons that could penetrate Zaltharian shields. Their entire fleet had been destroyed 6 months ago. This made no sense. He watched Elena's transmission 3 times, studying her face, searching for weakness. He found none. The human general looked back at him with eyes that promised violence. Vrathzel felt something he had not experienced in decades. Uncertainty. "Send the 7th Fleet to human space," he ordered. "Find their ships and destroy them. This insult will not stand." The 7th Fleet consisted of 150 Zaltharian warships under the command of Fleet Admiral Kreshvor, a decorated officer with 2 centuries of combat experience. He departed immediately, confident that this would be a simple hunt. The humans had somehow managed one lucky strike. He would ensure they never got a second chance. But when the 7th Fleet arrived at Earth's solar system, they found nothing. No human ships. No defensive platforms. Just the blue planet turning silently in space, seemingly undefended. Kreshvor ordered his ships to sweep the system thoroughly. His sensors detected the wreckage of the old human defense stations destroyed in the first attack, but no new construction. Where were the ships that had attacked the outpost? The answer came 2 days later when reports arrived from across the Empire. Human vessels attacking a supply convoy near Alpha Centauri. Human vessels destroying a mining facility in the Tau Ceti system. Human vessels freeing prisoners from a labor camp on Proxima 7. The attacks were happening simultaneously across dozens of systems, hundreds of light-years apart. How was this possible? How could the humans be everywhere at once? Admiral Kreshvor quickly realized he was facing an enemy unlike any he had encountered before. The humans were not gathering their forces for a single decisive battle. They were scattered, striking at vulnerable targets, then vanishing before reinforcements could arrive. They were fighting like insects, like parasites, attacking from every direction and never staying in one place long enough to be caught. For 3 weeks, the 7th Fleet chased ghosts. Every time they detected human ships and rushed to intercept, the enemy was gone before they arrived. Every time they thought they had cornered a human vessel, it disappeared into faster-than-light travel using technology that seemed more advanced than their own. Kreshvor felt his frustration growing into something close to fear. These were not the primitive beings who had been defeated 6 months ago. Something had changed. Elena monitored the situation from a hidden command center deep beneath Earth's surface. Holographic displays showed her the positions of all her ships and all known Zaltharian forces. The strategy was working perfectly. By splitting her fleet into small strike groups, she kept the Empire constantly off balance. They could not predict where humanity would attack next. They could not mass their forces to crush her ships. Every day brought new victories, new freed prisoners, new allies joining the cause. And there were allies. The Zaltharian Empire had oppressed hundreds of species across 4,000 systems. Most had given up hope of freedom long ago. But when word spread that the humans were fighting back, something awakened in the hearts of the enslaved. Representatives began arriving on Earth in secret, offering information, resources, and support. The VRYNN were a reptilian species whose home world had been conquered 300 years ago. They provided detailed maps of Zaltharian supply routes. The Kelthera were insectoid telepaths who had been forced to serve as imperial interrogators. They shared intelligence on Zaltharian military deployments. The Morok were massive four-armed beings bred as slave labor. They volunteered to fight alongside human forces. Elena met with each group personally, thanking them for their courage and promising that humanity would not abandon them. These species were risking everything by helping Earth. If the Empire discovered their involvement, entire worlds would be punished. But they helped anyway because they saw in humanity something they had lost in themselves: hope. 2 months after the first strike, Elena was ready for the next phase. She had gathered intelligence on a major Zaltharian military depot in the Arcturus system. This facility supplied weapons and fuel to half the Imperial fleet in this sector. Destroying it would cripple the Empire's ability to maintain operations for months. It was also heavily defended with 300 warships and dozens of orbital weapons platforms. Elena assembled her entire fleet for the attack. All 100 ships, each crewed by the best pilots and soldiers humanity had to offer. This would be the largest engagement since the war began. It would be the test that determined if humanity could truly challenge the Empire in open combat. The battle began at dawn on Earth, though in space there was no dawn. The human fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect formation, already moving at combat speed. The Zaltharian defenders were caught by surprise but reacted quickly, scrambling their ships to intercept. Within minutes, 300 Imperial warships were rushing toward Elena's 100 vessels. All ships, pattern Delta 7, Elena commanded. Let them see what humanity has learned. The human fleet did not advance in neat lines like traditional naval formations. Instead, they scattered like a school of fish avoiding a predator. Small groups of 3 to 5 ships moved independently, covering each other, supporting each other, never staying still long enough to be targeted effectively. The Zaltharians tried to focus fire on individual vessels, but every time they locked weapons, the target would dodge while its companion struck from a different angle. The phase disruptors proved their worth. Human weapons punched through Zaltharian shields that had protected the Empire for thousands of years. Ships that had been considered invincible began exploding. The Zaltharians responded with their own powerful weapons, but the human shields adapted in real time, learning from each attack and adjusting their frequencies to disperse incoming energy. Admiral Kreshvor, who had joined the defense of the depot personally, watched in growing horror as his fleet began to die. His ships were bigger and more numerous, but the humans moved like dancers. They anticipated his commands. They exploited every opening. They fought with a creativity and unpredictability his rigid military training had never prepared him for. The battle lasted for hours. When it ended, the Arcturus depot was burning wreckage and 200 Zaltharian warships were destroyed. The human fleet had lost 18 ships, and Elena mourned every single one. 1,800 people who would never see Earth again. But they had won. Against impossible odds, humanity had won. Elena opened a channel that would broadcast across the entire Zaltharian Empire. Her face appeared on screens in thousands of systems, from the imperial capital to the most distant colony. She looked directly at the camera, directly at High Commander Vrathzel, and spoke with absolute conviction. People of the Zaltharian Empire, your leaders told you that humanity was broken. They told you we would obey. They were wrong. Today, we destroyed the Arcturus depot and 200 of your finest warships. Tomorrow, we will destroy more. Every day, we will destroy more until your empire crumbles. She leaned forward, her eyes blazing. But this war is not about conquest. We do not want your territory. We do not want to rule over you. We want only one thing: freedom. Freedom for humanity. Freedom for every species you have enslaved. Freedom for the VRYNN, the Kelthera, the Morok, and hundreds of others who have suffered under your tyranny. High Commander Vrathzel, Emperor Zalthkrone, and all the leaders of your ancient empire, hear me now. You had 15,000 years to learn wisdom. You chose conquest instead. You had the chance to meet humanity in peace. You chose violence. You struck our world first, believing we would be easy to break. That was your mistake. Your final mistake. Her voice dropped to something quiet but infinitely more dangerous. We are coming for you. Not in years. Not in months. Now. And we will not stop until every slave is freed and every tyrant answers for their crimes. You wanted to teach humanity its place in the galaxy. Congratulations. You succeeded. Our place is standing against empires that prey on the weak. Our place is fighting for those who cannot fight for themselves. Our place is showing the entire galaxy that no matter how powerful you are, no matter how long you have ruled, tyranny always falls when good people decide to stand. The transmission ended. Across the Zaltharian Empire, billions of beings watched in stunned silence. Slaves looked at each other with tears streaming down their faces. Soldiers questioned orders they had never questioned before. And in the imperial palace on the capital world of Zaltha Prime, Emperor Zalthkrone sat on his ancient throne and felt something he had not felt in his 8th century reign. Fear. Send for the full war council, the Emperor commanded. Mobilize the entire Imperial fleet. I want every available ship hunting these humans. I want their home world found and destroyed. I want their general captured and brought before me. I want this insult answered with such overwhelming force that no species will ever dare challenge us again. His advisors rushed to obey, but as they scattered through the palace corridors, whispers followed them. The humans had done the impossible. A single species, attacked without provocation, had risen from defeat to challenge an empire 15,000 years old. And across 4,000 systems, the oppressed were beginning to ask themselves a question that would shake the galaxy. If the humans could resist, why couldn't they? General Elena Kovac stood on the bridge of the rising Phoenix and looked out at the stars. Behind her, Earth continued its ancient rotation, blue and beautiful and unbowed. Around her, the 100 ships of humanity's fleet prepared for the next battle. Before her, the galaxy waited to see what would happen when an unstoppable force met an immovable object. The war had just begun. The Zaltharian Empire would throw everything they had at humanity. There would be losses. There would be pain. There would be days when victory seemed impossible. But Elena knew something the Empire had forgotten in its 15,000 years of comfortable supremacy. The species that survives is not the strongest or the oldest. It is the one most willing to adapt, to change, to evolve. Humanity had been adapting since the first humans climbed down from trees and looked up at the stars. They had survived ice and fire and darkness and plague. They had fought wars and made peace and built civilizations from nothing. And now, pushed to the edge of extinction, they had evolved once more into something the galaxy had never seen. Warriors fighting not for conquest but for freedom. Not for glory but for justice. Not because they wanted war but because war had been forced upon them. General, her tactical officer called out. We are receiving reports. 17 more species have sent representatives. They want to join the alliance. They want to fight alongside us. Elena smiled for the first time in months. Send them coordinates for the rendezvous. Tell them humanity welcomes all who stand against tyranny. She looked out at the infinite stars and thought of High Commander Vrathzel, of Emperor Zalthkrone, of every Zaltharian who had believed humanity would be easy to break. They had attacked Earth first, expecting quick submission. They had awakened something far more dangerous than they could imagine. Not just humanity's wrath, but humanity's hope. The belief that no matter how dark the night, dawn would always come. The certainty that freedom was worth any price. You struck first, Elena whispered to the distant Zaltharian capital. And now you will learn what that cost you. Now you will learn that humanity does not just fight to survive. We fight to win. And we never, ever stop. The storm had been unleashed. And the galaxy would never be the same.